Hello, welcome back to another episode of House of Worth. Happy New Year if you celebrated January 1st. I really tap into the new year when we are in spring equinox. So that means March 20th. It's the astrological new year. But during this time, I'm going to just be honest. I'm not going to edit this video. It's just going to be raw and true to what is coming up for me. So this House of Worth episode is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to take you through all zodiac signs and show you your aesthetic. I'm going to focus on the eighth house. And the reason for this is because the eighth house is about transformation. And, there's not a lot of content creators that talk about what you go through when you're experiencing a rebirth. So, in the House of Worth system, I talk about how we go through cycles. And the astrological wheel takes you through those cycles. But when you hit the eighth house, it's when you're taking inventory on you. Like everything that you've learned from the first to the sixth house is going to come up after you've ventured into the seventh house. And that is in relationship. So the eighth house is asking you, who are you now? Are you dealing with heartbreak? Are you dealing with this new transition like after marriage and having to have spousal support? Are you entering in a phase where other people are paying you? Or did you experience loss and you inherited money? Those are all things in the eighth house, but it's also about the occult and secret knowledge. And when I started this journey of learning about astrology, I went down the path of learning divination tools and learning more about myself. And I began with the moon and her energy. And so as I'm filming this, we are getting ready and we're feeling it because she's in the magnetotail, which means she's closest to the earth 3 days before and 3 days after a full moon. But the full moon is in Cancer. And so this is going to bring up a lot of emotions around motherhood, your childhood and how you grew up in the home. Any of the subconscious beliefs or limiting beliefs that's keeping you stuck on a constant loop that's creating this reality that you no longer want to participate in. Now, the room of choice for the eighth house is the bathroom. And why I chose the bathroom is because it is where you transform. It's where you put your mask on and where you take your mask off. It's where you have carousels full of makeup, retinol cream, things to make you look more youthful. It is where you spend the most time in front of a mirror. It is also where you're closest to water because water is feminine. It's where you receive your downloads. So that's why I chose the bathroom. And it's just going to be a blank box. I'm not going to pick with your aesthetic for the bathroom because it's where you transform. It's where you're choosing how you're going to show up in your life. And Cancer's full moon is also a representation of the triple goddess. So you're either in your maiden, your mother, or your crone era. And I happen to be in my crone. And so I notice things about entering the bathroom. It's like the older you get, the harder it is to look at yourself in the mirror. At least that's a programming that you receive. I also know that it's where you can be the most critical about yourself when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, but you're really speaking those things into existence because that is how you're talking to yourself. And then it's the most magical place for me because it's where I receive so many downloads, and my guides tell me how what I should talk about or what I should explore in my life, and also where I am in my own transformation. And one of the things that came up for me is that I was still dimming my light. And so I want to share this limiting belief with you that I picked up from my mother that has been a constant in my life. And I am ready to let go of it. And so I'm transmuting it in the dead of winter. I happen to live in Florida, so it's really hard because, we don't have 4 seasons. But I am being intentional about slowing myself down so that I can transmute any of these limitations. As I'm recording, I just looked and it was 222, which happens to be one of the numbers that's always with me as I'm going through transitions, and my guide's letting me know I'm exactly where I should be. And so, dimming your light is one of those things that you're not even aware that you're doing. And you're not even aware that it's part of your program. And because the eighth house represents your shadows that that are blinding you, right? It's where you store your shame and guilt. It's also where you have secrets in your private life. It's also the house of intimacy. And so if there's shame and guilt in that house, you have a hard time with being intimate with someone. But what's coming up for me is this limiting belief that I picked up. And I've done so much inner work. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because maybe you are struggling with the same thing. And I mean, here's the honest truth. When I got on this journey with self help and wanting to work with women and empower women, I I didn't want to be anybody's therapist. I didn't want to be anybody's guru. And the honest truth that came up for me is that I no longer wanted to exchange my life force energy as part of my service. And there's a reason behind this, and I want to get into it. The reason why I don't want to be anyone's therapist and exchange my life force energy for service is because I've done it all of my life. And there was this unspoken identity I had with myself that I needed to be of service, to give away myself in order to have worth, to feel valuable. And even when I think of relationships, when you're younger and you don't know your worth, you physically give up your body to show value in relationship because the eighth house is the house of schmecks. I have to do that in case, it gets flagged or whatever, but I don't have a problem with saying the word. But the thing is that when you don't know yourself and you're operating from these wounds, they creep in every area of your life. And I will be transparent here because I'm just ready to transition out of this. I have been on this journey for, I would say, since 2017, when I experienced my spiritual awakening, which felt more of like my transition into being a menopausal woman and understanding where I was giving my power away. And so since 2017, I have been trying to find my power. And I've done a lot of inner work. And it's around like, who am I in this in this creation, right? The life that I'm creating, how I truly want to be seen. And I don't want to be seen as somebody who just gives and gives and gives. And because of that, there's been this alignment or unalignment with this business that I've been creating, because I created it from a point of view of being a one-to-one service, which I no longer want to be at anybody's disposal anymore. So then I decided that I was going to create digital things so it could put that barrier, but I was still messaging from the place of one-to-one. So there's a disconnect because I'm speaking in the form of being one-to-one, but then you have no access to me. And the truth is I want the boundaries there because I don't want to give my life force energy. I just want to talk about my experiences, what I've gone through, what I've learned, the transitions I've gone through, what astrology means to me, and my vision of how it represents every area in your home. It's because that's my interior designer's mind of how I compartmentalize um, patterns. I'm neurodivergent. I am an INFJ. So I'm complicated. I'm an Aquarius rising. I'm a Leo sun. I'm a Libra moon. And it's very hard to figure me out. And I know that I program myself into thinking that if I overgive and you resonate with me because there's that connection, because I'm giving you my life force energy, then I'm being seen. But in the process of being seen, I'm draining myself. And so this Cancer full moon is bringing this up for me. And that's why I chose to do this episode for the eighth house a little bit differently, because you might be right there. I mean, we're starting a new cycle. Um, it's everybody's experiencing this Cancer full moon, and there's a transitioning happening even in the macrocosm. And we're trying to figure out, like, who are we? What is my identity in this world? Because if you weren't raised in America, you might not resonate with this, because I know European countries um, have a slower pace of living. But in America, it's always about what you do, what your labels are. When you meet somebody, the first thing they ask you is, what do you do for a living? Not how do you live? What do you do for enjoyment? And so one of the things that I really want to be intentional about this year is my joie de vivre, looking at life through the lens of art and joy, and not about what I do. And so when you wrap yourself into the identity of what I do, when it's stripped away from you, you don't know who you are. And so if you're in your crone era and you're aging, in America, you feel invisible because you're too old to work, um, and you're too young to retire completely. You can't retire completely. And then you feel more and more invisible because the wise woman has been buried. And so this transition brings up a lot for women in their crone era. But going back to having this identity of how you serve, um, then if you don't have anybody to serve anymore, you lose yourself, especially if you're a mom and your kids get older and you don't relate to that anymore, or you don't have that responsibility anymore. And then it's with the work that you do. And so for me, when I chose to close down my interior design business because I was completely burnt out, because again, I was overgiving my life force energy. Um, and I needed to put a barrier between that. So I thought starting an online business would be exactly the thing that I needed. But there hasn't been this connection. And so I've just been, since 2017, trying to figure out this online world and how can I make a business out of it. But going through it, I was still healing. I was still doing the inner work. I'm still learning more and more about myself. And I'm right at the precipice of transitioning because I broke the loop. Um, when you look at the flower of life, the seed, sacred geometry, the seed of life, it shows loops. And that's how our life is. It's cyclical. But in order to form the flower of life, you have to interlink, like you have to transition things. You open up the circle so it can interlink with another to create. It's not a bunch of circles lying on top of each other. And that's what I found this information out during like November 29th through December 17th, is where the 13th astrology, I'm not going to get into it in this video because I'll go into it in the next. But there's a process. And so you need to have the 13th house in order to transmute this energy. And I didn't know about it before, because this loop of being stuck like on a hamster wheel, when I didn't know about the 13th house, the zodiac is all about transmutation. She's the snake healer. So she's the venom of your life, to suck out the venom so that you can um, shed and become a higher version of yourself. And when you're unaware that you're stuck on a loop, you keep repeating it, and your reality just is more of the same. And that's what's been happening for me. And so it's very fitting that I discovered her, because we are in the year of the snake. Well, we still are until the February 17th is when the Chinese lunar calendar moves us into the fire horse energy. And so I really have to transmute this and be honest with myself. And my hopes is that if I'm sharing this with you, that maybe you can see where you're sabotaging yourself. So I think that I have to be honest, and how I've been sabotaging myself is confusing why I'm here, like confusing why I'm showing up on social media, why I'm creating the business. Because if I can be in a constant state of confusion, then I don't have to step into my higher mind. And I know that I'm a wise woman. I have been through a lot, and the way that I see the world is different than other people. And I know that I have something to offer, but it doesn't have to be an exchange of my life force energy. I don't have to overgive in order for somebody to see my worth. It took me a long time to get to the point where I know that I am inherently value. And it's not about what I do. It's not about how much money I make. And so that was the huge lesson for me, was to break this loop. And I always found that right around the holidays is when I was tested the most, because um, that was the hardest time for me growing up. My mother was a single parent and we didn't have a lot. And she tried her best. And there was like a lot of resentment and a lot of shame and, wanting to give us more than she could. But then there was that anger for overspending and, you know, just a cycle that keeps repeating. That's why I don't resonate with the holidays anymore, because I know it puts people on this loop of feeling like they're not enough. Um, and so that comes up, and that was something I needed to transmute. And transmuting it is acknowledging it, but then getting out of your comfort zone to do something differently, to stand in your true worth, your true value. And for me, I realize I don't have to give my life force energy. Not everything I create has to have something that's going to help you, right? Because I'm not here to hold your hand. I'm only here to share my experience and talk about these so that maybe you can see yourself in me and transmute those things yourself. And that's where House of Worth was born, because um, everything in my life cycle of going through the 12 houses in your natal chart had to do with self-worth. And that is because of having Chiron in the second house of self-worth. Second house, if you watch the video on House of Worth, is all about your material world. And it took me this year to really see that I was dimming my light because I was overgiving. And overgiving doesn't have to be overgiving with material things. Overgiving happens when you don't feel like you're enough and you feel like you can't just be you. You have to have something that you can give somebody in order for them to see your value. And that has been a cycle that I have been on for a very long time. So I'm transmuting that, and I'm telling myself it is okay for me to create a digital product that I don't have to be one-to-one exchanging my life force energy with you. It's okay for me to create a video of that and do a write-up, and it's still going to be valuable. I don't have to be in the container in order for it to have value, because I am bringing my wisdom to everything and my life experience to everything that I'm doing. And so that's just a new perspective that I'm adopting this year. And I wanted to share that with you. And then also, the holidays always bring up something for me. And being that it's a Cancer full moon, this is your fourth house of your roots. And the older you get, and when you don't have your parents, if you've lost your parents, your identity with your roots is questioned, because yes, you have your children, you have your family, but I'm from Europe and I came to the States, and my mom just disconnected from all of her roots, so I don't have that. And so I really want to be intentional about going back to my roots, and you might resonate with this. I was born in France, and although I live my life like a French woman already, because it's just inherent, um, I still don't have those traditions and values wrapped up into being a French woman and just owning it. I don't speak the language, so that's another thing that has been blocking me from owning my heritage, because I don't resonate with the American way, but I've lived in America all of my life. And so that is another piece of the puzzle that's coming through for me. So I'm hoping to even share, once we're done with the House of Worth series and I go through all of the houses, is to share that part of my life of living more intentionally. So in this episode, I wanted to share where I'm transitioning, what the eighth house means to me, why I chose the bathroom, but I don't want to separate it into each zodiac sign because at this point you know what your aesthetic is. But there is a lesson for you in the eighth house according to your rising sign, according to that zodiac. But it's a continuous theme when you break it down by the rising sign. So really what I'd like you to do is take this time to just slow down and be intentional and journal and ask how you're feeling right now. What do you feel is coming up? What are you letting go, and where are you transitioning? You ask yourself where you're ready to let go of things because this moon is bringing that up. And it has to do with your roots. If you didn't watch House of Worth, the, about the fourth house and your shadow sides, you can revisit that with this Cancer energy. But it is about where are you wanting to step into claiming your roots? Where do you want to let go of those subconscious beliefs that are holding you back from transitioning and living your best life? Because remember, after the eighth house, we have the ninth house, which is your higher mind and your philosophy on life. And then it moves into your public reputation, and then your social life, and then your spiritual life. And then we do it all over again. And also, let me just revisit back what I was talking about with sacred geometry, with the linking up and knowing that we need to transition because our life is a spiral, and a spiral is a broken circle. And when you're stuck on a loop, it's because you're not learning the lessons, you're not transforming and transitioning. So things are going to feel uncomfortable. I just want you to be aware of that. You're going to feel emotional because of this full moon. There could be some mother wounds that are going to be coming up right now, or even memories of childhood and missing, and really feeling nostalgic about your roots and wanting that connection. I mean, I'm just speaking for myself because that's what's coming up for me, but you might be feeling that because that's Cancer's energy. And then also really stepping into your era in life, like the triple moon goddess is really owning where you are. And Hecate is the goddess that um, comes to me when we're in this transition because she holds the torch where you're going down another path. And she lights the path for you. And she also, her representation is the key. And the key is you have the key. You just have to unlock it. And so this time that we're going through right now is, are you willing to go down a different path, an unknown path that is not more of your limiting beliefs? Or you abandoning yourself? Are you ready to travel down that path and know that you are the key to unlocking that path? It is not what you do. It's not where you overgive. It's not having to have all of the answers for everyone. You can be enough just as you are, and that is good enough. So make sure that you journal around that, because even though it's the new year, it's not the true new year. This is still where you're going through a deep dive and understanding more about your transformation. Where are you transitioning? What do you want this year to look like? What are you calling in? Um, and the answers are within. They are not without. There's nobody's going to tell you. You know yourself better than anyone else. And if you want to share what's coming up for you as you're watching this, I would love for you to leave a comment. Um, and know that if you are putting yourself out there and it hasn't been easy, it's not because you're not good enough. It can be because you're still holding on to old patterns. And that's what I had to come to the conclusion. There's been many times I've thought, I just want to quit all of this. And I tell myself, what do you even think? What were you thinking that people would be interested in the things that you like to talk about? Um, and I had to work through that and keep going. And it's not easy. It's not easy when you change your path, but what you discover about yourself is priceless. And so I'm hoping that because of this awareness of where I've been giving my power away is going to open up new doors, new relationships, more conversation. So if you want to hit the subscribe button, you can do that. Share this with someone that you know is going through this. And leave me a comment or a thumbs up. And let's just start the conversation, because this is the only way through it, is to shed it so that we can take action. And it is going to be around your identity. That's what this moving into fire and air is about, taking action in knowing yourself, because Aries represents your identity. When Saturn and Neptune move into Aries, it's knowing yourself without giving yourself away. And that is all I have for you today. I will see you on the next video.